I don't really know anything about this channel, but from the name of it, I think I can get an idea of what they're all about. They're called Reasoned, or Reasoned TV. And this video we're going to respond to is called UK Kids on Irreversible Hormone Blockers to Rid Them of Being Gay. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but hormone blockers aren't irreversible. It's a pretty well-known medical fact that hormone blockers don't change you into anything. They just halt puberty for a while, and as soon as you get off of them, in like 99.9% of cases, your body catches up to where you would be in terms of puberty if you got taken off of them. Or you have the benefit of if you are trans, and you're like, okay, or, I mean, there's plenty of reasons why you might go on hormone blockers, like medical reasons besides being trans, but they're talking about being trans here. This is probably like this looks like it's going to be some turf shit to me, to be honest with you. But let's say there is a scenario where you are trans. Well, now you've had the benefit of not going through the wrong puberty. And so now it's easier to transition, generally speaking. But let's get into it. Let's see if it is true that UK kids are on irreversible hormone blockers to rid them of being gay. Let's see. What do we got?
Homosexuality is a crime. It's punishable with death for...
Wait, hold on. Is this some turf shit?
In Iran, homosexuality is a crime. It's punishable with death for men and lashings for women.
Okay.
But it has some of the most relaxed, liberal, if you want to use that word, policies on gender reassignment and identification in the world. It's second only to Thailand in its number of trans surgeries.
Wait. No, it's not. Do you guys know the reason? Hey, do you guys know the reason why it seems like Iran and a lot of countries that are very intolerant of gay people seem so tolerant of trans people? Do you guys know why that is? They force gay people to transition. Because you can be a woman who's attracted to men, but you can't be a man that's attracted to men. So if you're a gay guy, you either get murdered or you're forced to transition. That's how they destroy the gay. In like Iran and in a lot of countries like that. Okay.
Sexuality is illegal in Iran, and gay people are hanged from cranes in the street in sick public executions. The regime gives gay people basically two choices. You're arrested and tried as a homosexual.
Oh, this is totally turf shit. This is totally going to be like LGB shit, right? Because we've got the LGBT flag in the background. Is this going to be like some anti-trans shit? Or like some like that's like an LGB, what is it called? LGB Alliance is like that one anti-trans hate group. Is that what this is going to be? What is Reason TV all about? Let's get a look at it. I need to know what these people are all about so I know what arguments to expect. They got 25,000 subs. Let's see. Reasoned TV. Think, don't follow. Dear Marxist students, be careful what you wish for. Black and conservative equals race traitor. Put thug toppled statue back. Infectious social gatherings, not if MPs like your politics. BBC, the UK's left-wing answer to Fox News. In defense of Dominic Cummings. Who is Dominic Cummings? Let's see. At Cummings. No, I don't want to watch the video. Fuck off. Why is it playing the video? Why is it playing the video? There we go. Who is Dominic Cummings? Is a British political strategist who has served as chief advisor to UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson since July 19th. Okay, so probably just some like conservative dipshit. Cummings basically broke lockdown rules and the government put loads of effort into defending him. Oh, nice. Cool memes. Alright. I have an idea of what this channel's all about now. It's like I assume this guy's gay? He's probably gay. We're gonna say he's gay. In my headcanon, this guy is gay. So he's like a gay guy who does not like trans people, who's gonna make the argument that like the trans agenda has affected Iran, and now, like, oh, trans people have it better than gay people? Plus, he's a Britbonger. Actually, he's Welsh, isn't he? Isn't that a Welsh accent? So even worse.
Obviously has serious repercussions, or you go through irreversible gender reassignment, sex reassignment surgeries. But we're obviously fine
Wait, he says, yeah, gender reassignment and well, actually they are. Even sex reassignment and gender reassignment surgeries are reversible to a degree, unless we're talking about like bottom surgery. I guess there's nothing you can do about that. But wait, the the thumbnail says irreversible hormone blockers. Does he think hormone blockers and like sex reassignment surgery and gender reassignment like measures are irreversible or the same thing as hormone blockers? I'm so confused right now.
from those sorts of coercive controls in this country, right?
Maybe we are medicating gay kids, maybe we're medicating kids with autism, maybe we are medicating traumatised children. And if we are, we're doing bad things to these vulnerable kids.
We did have a lot of families and parents who would actively tell us that, oh, I'm so glad at least my child is not gay or lesbian, implying that having a trans outcome would be better for their children.
I had a case. There was a lot of trauma in the family. The young person had come out initially as a lesbian and had faced a lot of homophobic bullying, both very subtly within the family and quite openly in school. And suddenly the young person changed their mind and they started identifying as trans.
In some of these cases,
Okay, so for starters, there are multiple things. Hold on. Don't medicate autistic kids. Yeah, I don't even fucking know. Apparently, if you're autistic, then you can't know if you're trans or not. Hold on. We have to. Whew. A video that's gone over so many. Like, okay, so there's a few things we have to acknowledge here that are really important. All right. So we gotta zoom in. All right, we zoom in. All right. There are a few things we need to acknowledge. Few pretty obvious possibilities, right? So first, there's the possibility these clips are presented dishonestly. Right? There is a chance, a pretty good chance, that the way this person is editing the video is to show clips that would suggest to you that there's an epidemic of, like, gender clinics and or whatever you would call them in the UK, basically transitioning or forcing kids to transition who are just gay and like ashamed of it or want to escape the prejudice they face for being gay by transitioning. That is obviously the idea that he's trying to put across. It is very likely that is how it is being edited. Now, there's also a chance that the people talking in said clips have some kind of anti-trans bias. So maybe this is just the racism embedded within me, but when I hear a Britbonger talking, wow, nice, my H key doesn't work. Whenever I hear a Britbonger talking, yeah, it really doesn't. My H key, my N key, and my M key are broken. I've already ordered a new mouse and keyboard. It'll be here in a day or two. Regardless, though, whenever I hear a Britbonger voice, I immediately assume TERF or anti-trans. Like, the amount of transphobic British people I've heard speak, just immediately, I think transphobia. I think TERF shit, right? And you're right, the BBC does push transphobic shit all the fucking time. They platform those, like, detransitioners that advocate against trans, like, people existing all the time. So that's also very possible. Two, even if this is the argument being made, this isn't even a solution to the problem. So let's say this problem is actually a thing, that like gay people in the UK are being pressured into transitioning to avoid the stigma and the harm and the abuse that you get for being gay. So not only is that ridiculous, because trans people get way more hate than gay people do. This is just statistically true, right? You know, you can look up their attempted suicide rates. You can look up all the shit that they face. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a contest, but it doesn't really make sense that a gay person would try to transition and become trans to avoid hate for being gay. Like, that's not really how it works. Now, I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but let's say that is happening. Let's say that is happening. Even if that's the case, the solution to this problem isn't doing something about the trans movement or trans people. It's destigmatizing being gay. It's making being LGBT of all types, whether you're lesbian, gay, bi, or trans, or any of, you know, the rest of it, make it so everybody accepts that. Not just diverting the hatred towards trans people. What? That's not a solution to the problem. Because I feel like that's what we're going with this video here. I feel like that's where, like, the natural conclusion that we're meant to arrive at with this video.
Clinicians thought that it wouldn't be appropriate for them to refer for puberty blockers, but they would be overruled by GIDS director Polly Carmichael, the transcripts suggest.
The young person had very clearly told me and my colleague that my mum wants the hormone more than I do. And when we took it to senior management, Polly Carmichael, she suggested that we refer, even though this was not clinically indicated.
NHS England says that young people...
I'm sorry, I don't trust anything British. Hold on, can I get a source on this other than like clips from like a very obviously biased source that are like clipped out of context? Hold on. Let's see, what does the quote say? Alright. The young person had very clearly told me and my colleague that my mum wants the hormones more than I do. When we took it to senior management, Polly Carmichael, she suggested that we refer... Fuck, it clips out so quickly, I can't even finish what it says. My mom wants the hormones more than I do, probably because of social pressures and a fear that they'd be bullied more. I don't feel comfortable making that claim, though. Hold on, I want to see the exact clip. The young person said... Young person had very clearly told me and my colleague that my mum, god, degenerate Britmonger shit, wants the hormone more than I do. Alright. Nothing comes up. I searched word for word. The young person had very clearly told me and my colleague... Maybe I misspelled colleague? So you spell colleague, right? There it is. Nothing comes up. Oh, I did misspell than because my H key doesn't work. There it goes. Ha! Oh no! The first thing that comes up. This is... Oh my god! Of course! The first two things that come up when you search this is glinner.co.uk in the direct quote and transgendertrend.com. Alright. I think we know enough. I think we know enough about where this is going. Alright. It is pretty interesting that the only people talking about this are fucking transgendertrend.com and fucking Glinner's website. Rest in peace, Glinner. Sorry you got thrown out of TERF Heaven, because TERF Heaven is a female-only space. Alright. I think I've seen enough to be able to disregard this.
NHS England says that young people should be referred for medical treatment, puberty-blocking drugs, after a minimum of 3 sessions. But the review heard from several staff that one member of the GIDS leadership, Sarah Davidson, would refer children for treatment after only 1 or 2 appointments. When a child is assessed by GIDS, they may be offered a drug called a puberty blocker. These stop a young person's body developing breasts, periods...
Can we talk about the way that the, this is being framed right now, how it's like, it's moving across, like super scary. This is unironically how you would, like the creepy music and everything here with the spooky music. This is clearly an extremely biased perspective they're trying to give us right now. They got the creepy music and like the scary mood lighting. This is why I hate British people, by the way. This is why I fucking hate the UK, because every time I hear a British accent, I think of fucking TERFs, and I think of this bullshit. Every single British person who's not trans is a transphobe, it seems. I really don't know why. Why? Or do we have any Britbongers in chat right now? I'm curious. Do we have any Britbongers in chat right now? Type 1 if you're a Britbonger. Do you guys have any idea why your fucking island is so transphobic? Where does it come from? Can I please, like, can you please tell me? Please, I just want to know. Why are Britbongers so transphobic? Where does it come from? It's so obnoxious to me. It's the chemicals in the food, yeah, maybe. It's the lack of fluoride in the water. Alright. Yeah, no, like, you should be able... Listen, This is a big giveaway. If you're watching some sort of documentary or news story, and the way that they're framing something is like, oh, creepy music playing, black and white, like film grain mood lighting with like the the camera pan, stuff like that, probably disregard it, because there's a very obvious impression they're trying to give you here.
Kids, facial hair, or a deeper voice. The NHS has recently updated its guidance on these drugs, acknowledging that little is known about their long-term effects or what impact they might have on children's brains and bones.
The consensus is still, though, at the moment, that in every test that has been shown, it has been shown, or basically every test, it's like it's like 99.9% of the time, that a kid who was put on hormone blockers and then taken off of it for whatever reason, more or less gets back to where they would have been anyway. They go whoop right back to where they would have been with their puberty things. They grow out the hair, they get the boobies, they get the pubic hair, all that shit, the sweating, everything that you get whenever you go through puberty, right? This seems to just be what happens. And it is unscientific to go against that until the scientific community finds some evidence that actually this isn't the case. And at the moment, that has not happened. So any turf bullshit like this, I assume this is turf shit, or actually no, I think this channel is like just straight up like reasoned TV. Like this is actually just like probably just like conservative propaganda. Maybe they're cool with gay people a little bit, but probably not trans people. I mean, like the first two things that came up talking about this story were Glinner's website and transgendertrend.com. So yeah.
Government has made sensible steps scrapping Theresa May's plans for self-identification and protecting self-segregated spaces for women. They now need...
I really hate British people. So what he just said was, the government has made good measures in eliminating self-identification regulations, I think is what he said directly. So, yeah, the idea that if you can self-identify as a woman and be considered a woman, they're scrapping that. He sees that as a good thing, as if anything bad comes from that. And self-segregated spaces for women. Name me a self-segregated space where a bunch of cis women can get together and say, yeah, we don't want any trans women or men here. And it not be... Well, yeah, trans women are women. This is just a fact, right? But assuming it, because these are TERFs, it's the UK. All women in the UK that are cis are TERFs. What space can be self-segregated and not have some kind of discrimination happening to trans women? Name one space. Bathrooms? No. How do you self-segregate a bathroom? Abuse shelters? Well, most abuse shelters are unisex already. Like, you can go to abuse... they men and women can go to the same abuse shelter in most cases. The few existing female-only abuse shelters that exist usually end up shutting down because nobody goes to them. Or they get vandalized by people who don't like TERFs because they're run by TERFs. There's no evidence to support the idea that segregating genders at abuse shelters does anything good. So, what self-segregated spaces should we be trying to protect here?
We need to look into these extreme treatments in which, in some cases, children with homophobic parents, just like those found in the state of Iran, are told that a trans outcome will be much better than a gay outcome.
Extreme. Nothing about these treatments are extreme. These are backed up by... I hate British people so much. Like, how is America less transphobic than Britain? Or at least, well, okay, never mind. To be fair, this is the difference between British transphobia and American transphobia from what I've seen. British transphobia is like, oh, we just want to protect women. We just don't want men which are pretending to be women to come into women's spaces and try to bully their way in. And these are women's spaces. We care about women. That's how British people are, right? When they do their transphobia. But in America, we're like, no, we just think that them trans people are fucking degenerates. We don't want them going around anybody. Like, we don't want them near our kids. They're fucking degenerates. Hey, at least here in America, we're a bit more... Well, no, that is the perfect Britbonger accent right there, because that's exactly how all of the transphobic British people sound. They specifically sound like that. But regardless, but here in America, we're just like, no, those trannies are fucking degenerates. We don't like them here. We don't want them in our schools. We don't want our kids being taught about them. We don't like it. We just don't like it. Honestly, I prefer the American kind, because at least the American kind is a bit more honest, and you can actually argue against the bigotry. I know I said the T slur, but it was a quote. Don't worry about it.
And there's evidence to suggest that these kids experiencing gender dysphoria as adolescents go on to live very happy lives.
Also, this isn't a thing that's happening, guys. There's not like this epidemic of like homophobic parents that are forcing their kids to transition because they're more homophobic than they are transphobic. This isn't like a thing that's happening. And even if it was a thing that was happening, do you really think the medical, like the doctors and shit behind this are going to allow this to happen on any broader scale? Also, shut up, chat. I'm allowed to say the T-slur. I have the pass, okay? I have like 100 T-slur passes, okay? Don't worry about it.
Gay men and women in later life, and that many of the majority, I think, are women who are gay are suffering from underlying mental health issues like anorexia or bulimia. But
this is unrelated to being trans. Come up with a different argument.
The fact of the matter is that many of these kids need mental health treatment, not irreversible hormone blockers.
Holy shit. Imagine being this much of a fucking reprobate. Okay, for one, no evidence whatsoever is shown that hormone blockers are irreversible. For two, it is the consensus among the medical community that transitioning is the treatment for being trans. If you have gender dysphoria, that is the treatment, transitioning. Like, anything else is literally just like, is conversion therapy. Literally. The only other option, like anything else, if you're trying to like, what's it called? If you're trying to therapy the transness out of them or the gender dysphoria out of them, that's just conversion therapy. Also, hormone blockers and transitioning aren't the same thing. Hormone blockers just like halt puberty temporarily until a decision can be made. That's all it does. God, these anti-science transphobes, love to see it.
That can impact upon bone development and cognitive capabilities. I think the Gates Clinic ought to be placed under special...
Oh, and I didn't listen to what they said because their accent made that unintelligible.
Bone development and cognitive capabilities.
There is no evidence that cognitive capabilities are infected in any significant way by hormone blockers or transitioning. And on top of that, bone density being lowered when you take hormone blockers is the point. If you're like a trans woman and you take hormone blockers, you want your bone density to be lower, especially if you want to get into sports and be able to compete as a woman. And two, but that doesn't hurt you. It's not a negative thing. Also, all evidence has shown that when you get off hormone blockers, you catch back up to where you would have been.
I think the Gates Clinic ought to be placed under special measures and investigated at the highest level. The children...
Oh, so what he's calling for right now is for the government of the UK to limit a clinic which the procedures of said clinic follow the consensus and the medical guides that have been set up and peer-reviewed by multiple doctors across the world, that the transphobic UK government needs to put restrictions on said clinic to restrict them from doing what they need to do, what like the processes and the procedures that have been developed and tried and tested by doctors across the world. The transphobic British government needs to regulate it and put restrictions on it. Nice. Okay.
Commissioner for England.
That's the translation of what he just said there for you guys. You can't understand his Britbonger accent.
Level. The Children's Commissioner for England cannot be allowing these practices to go on. It's heartbreaking that this needs to this is happening.
Think of the children. Shut the fuck up.
In a liberal democracy like ours.
Ironic that this guy's tagline is "Think, Don't Follow" when he's literally just following the go-to transphobic like talking points that are just so prevalent in the UK. When if you actually think and listen to doctors and scientists and the consensus of the medical community, you find that every single thing he said here is false. And it's funny because the only thing he cites is a story that I looked into just now, and it was literally only openly anti-trans websites that were talking about it. Interesting. Immediately, every time I hear a British accent, I think transphobia. Please. Just stop. Just stop being transphobic. If you're from the UK and you're watching this right now, stop being transphobic. Why are you so transphobic? Not everybody from the UK is transphobic, but seriously, why is that? Why is there so much transphobia in the UK? Like even like the mainstream news outlets like BBC engage in open transphobia. It's so crazy to me. Because at least here in like America, like CNN usually doesn't do, like, openly transphobic arguments. I imagine there's some cases where they've done it, but usually they're pretty pro-trans, generally speaking, like our left-leaning news networks. And BBC is fairly left-leaning for a news network in the UK. It's crazy. Fuck BBC. All my homies hate BBC.